حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وسبحان الله والله أكبر والصلاة والسلام على محمد خاتم النبيين وآله وأصحابه الطيبين. Alhamdulillah for for the safety of everyone, and it was a false alarm, and I of course realize that for many of you have to go back to work, so I will make the khutbah quite short. But perhaps this is a good opportunity to tell you what was a small part of the original issue that I wanted to address with you, and that's the nature of our khutbahs themselves in the day that we live in. The khutbah and Salat al-Jum'ah was made as part and parcel of the community addressing the most important and critical issues that confronts Muslim communities in different times, in different places, in different circumstances. And while the structure, the Shara'i structure, the structure according to Sharia of the khutbah, the skeletal structure, has remained the same since the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The contents of the khutbah and the contents and the nature of what is said in Fridays and what the podium of Muslims produce has often reflected either the well-being, the good health of the Muslim community, or the lack of health in a Muslim community. A friend of mine told me, which I think is a joke, that some people were asking, someone was asking another, I tell terrible jokes, but there goes, how was the khutbah today? And the fellow answered him, the khutbah was about 20 to 30 minutes, meaning no one pays attention to the substance of the khutbah, and it's a matter of how long it is rather than what is said in it. I hope, inshallah, that we will breaking this mode in future khutbahs, and in at least the khutbahs that I bring to you, because khutbahs are not the time to for a community to think about what separates the individuals and the ways in which their lives are all different or their troubles are all different, but rather think about the ways in which they share a common bond of love, common bond of compassion, common bond of challenges, and common bond of solutions to these challenges. What I want to, and I can consider this something I'll continue in following khutbahs bi'Iznillah. One of the often pertinent and pressing Quranic discourses, but yet remarkably unengaged, where Allah Ta'ala tells us, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومنهم من عاهد الله لئن أتانا من فضله لنصدقن ولنكونن من الصالحين فلما أتاهم الله من فضله بخلوا به وتولوا وهم معرضون فأعقبهم نفاقا في قلوبهم إلى يوم يلقونه بما أخلفوا الله ما وعدوه وبما كانوا يكسبون. And there are many, the Quran says, and there are many who make a promise to God. A promise we're all familiar with at some level or another. A promise to God at a time of need. And especially the Quranic verse talks about financial need. And in the Quranic discourse, it says that, and there are those who promise God sincerely in the form of dua, in a heartfelt, heated dua, that if only Allah would bestow bounties, bestow material wealth upon them, that if only Allah would increase their income, increase their financial abilities, that if God would do that, that they would respond by spending in the way of God, by performing sadaqah. Sadaqah, not just feeding the poor and the needy, but that is coupled with وَلَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, and we will be good doers. But of course, as you can yourself predict, the balance of the story is that once in fact God gives them, as if they promised God nothing, and if they prayed for nothing. And for doing so, God places in their heart a lack of honesty, in fact, a lack of honesty, a lack of sincerity, a lack of truth, even before themselves. And because of the promise that they broke to God, and because they have acted as if liars, that God allows them to suffer the consequences of their own actions, because our God is a just God that allows us to reap the fruit of what we sow, and will of course intervene in grace and mercy often, very often, to save us from the disasters that we create with our own hands. But the first principle of justice is that you reap what you sow, and without that first principle, all things in all logic of accountability in life becomes very confused. That essential basic promise, I want to remind all of us, as we think about the often the plight of, I'm not going to talk about just Muslims around the world, I'm going to talk about Muslims in the United States. How many of us have made the promise sincerely with Allah, if only you would allow me to obtain the job, if only you would give me stability, if only you would give me the security, if only you would allow me to finish this degree or that degree, if only you would give me, if only you would allow me to qualify in my medical examinations, if only I can become a doctor or lawyer or engineer, whatever it is. If only, and I would be the agent of good. And once it comes, then the nifaq is that you don't confess that you've broken the vow, but suddenly the money becomes far easier to spend on yourself and on your loved ones, and far easier to adore as you see it grow, and much harder to depart with per the terms of your agreement and the covenant and the contract that you've made with God. And God does not forget. واسأل الله يستجب لكم. So many times the Quran reminds us, Allah reminds us, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لما تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. Why do you say what you not do? And follows it by كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. God, كبر مقتا, it is something that is truly distasteful. When something when Allah calls something truly distasteful, it means that it is something that is a fundamental failure in ethics, and a fundamental failure in the morality of what constitutes a decent human being. And that characteristic of talking in one way by acting another, being a person that promises left and right but delivers very differently. And if you notice, our ummah, the Muslim ummah in general, is afflicted with this to the core. In so many levels. We will often talk about mercy and fail in that regard. We will often talk about brotherhood, but are brutal in our disagreements. We will often talk about generosity and taking care of the poor and so on, but often a Muslim will live and die in a neighborhood without their generosity ever becoming the flag of their Muslimship. The issue that inshallah I will have to leave till the next khutbah, we will often talk about disempowerment, and the very first element of any empowerment for any human being is the willingness of that human being to sacrifice, not blood, because today that has become the cheapest of things to sacrifice. The way Shaitan has inspired so many people to act, but to sacrifice what is now for the modern human being even dearer, or more dear than love than blood, time and wealth, material. And yet the reason for our disempowerment is that we neither give our time nor our material wealth. May Allah guide us and forgive us. Allahumma aghfir lana, Allahumma afu anna, Allahumma arda anna wahdina, Allahumma arshudna لخير ما في دنيانا وآخرتنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم ألهمنا الحكمة والرشد يا رب، واعف عنا وارحمنا واغفر لنا، أنت مولانا وانصرنا على القوم الظالمين. وصلى وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه، وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله